I am the Government Relations Director and Registered Lobbyist for the Rural Electric Association, and I'm here representing those 34 rural electric providers. But I'm also here to testify on behalf of the Nebraska Power Association, which is a trade organization for all of the electric utilities in Nebraska. So that includes everything from a small municipal to the largest vertically integrated utility. And my testimony is in opposition, and I originally was going to try and testify before some of our rural members did, just to give you a background on the bill, but I think you heard enough of that. I do want to say that, one, I'm going to keep the fear-mongering to a limited amount, and when we negotiated, or we came up with the original LB 436 language, it was a very amicable interaction, a very inclusive process. And when the utilities came to the numbers, and there was a diversity, some wanted much less as far as system caps or system thresholds, and some were willing to go a little bit larger. But what we came up with in the end is a level that we felt comfortable with in providing a subsidy to engage and encourage these types of systems on our distribution systems. One of the things that was brought up in the moving from 25 to 100 kW, you heard testimony, and we agree with the previous testifiers on problems associated with that. But you heard testimony talking about how we're behind other states. And if you go to the Desire website, DSIRE, which will give you an outline of all of these state systems, there are indeed 43 states that provide net metering. However, only 22 of those states require net metering of rural electric providers like co-ops and rural public power districts. There's an understanding that this has a disparate effect on them. And as you'll see, and I do encourage you to visit the website, many of the states that had implemented net metering, again, when the cost of these systems was much, much higher, they didn't anticipate the loads coming in as the prices went down. And many states are now trying to backpedal or back off on the limits for net metering. So I do encourage you to look at that website. Again, we do have a problem with the aggregation of meters because it adds a level of complexity. You heard that. Mr. Burns said that the utilities are smart, we can figure it out. And yes, you're right. If you give us a directive, we are going to figure it out. But the reality is figuring that out comes with a cost that then is going to be borne by all of the customers on the distribution system, not just those net metering customers. And one of the things that I want to point out, we heard early on that a 100 kW solar system is going to cost between $150,000 to $200,000. And people want to put these in. We hear that. Those are people that can afford to do that type of thing. And what we're finding is then the extra costs associated with those systems being online are being paid for by those they can't afford. And you heard that before as well. And going with that 1% cap, and we heard that some of these small utilities are bumping up against that cap. Well, 1% for a small utility is very impactful, and maybe more impactful than it is for a very large distribution system that has the ability to absorb more of these generation systems. So the 1% cap is something we feel strongly about as well. I hope to say that our opposition is not punitive. We truly believe that we are acting on the best interests of our customers, and that's all of our customers. So we want to support both those that can afford to engage in net metering and those that cannot. With that, I end my testimony, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Gottschalk. Senator Boston.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What was that website?
Desire, DSIRE. And it will give you not just net metering, but any types of renewable incentives and programs in other states. It's very comprehensive.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Senator Walz.
Thank you. Okay, so I've heard a lot of testimony, and I can say that I see where there are problems, and I think that you guys are doing the best that you can to make sure that all your customers are being treated equally. But can you just give me a little bit of information or idea of, what is the plan forward? How can we increase our use of renewable energy? Is there do you see a plan, or?
As far as the plan goes, I think as utilities have gained more experience, and again, we keep talking about solar, but this goes across all types of generation resources. I think we're seeing a shift towards solar because it perhaps has a better applicability and more predictability than wind, and you also don't have additional costs. But as we have more experience with this, we're going to see more of what we've been talking about. Custer Public Power has engaged in power purchase agreements for additional solar, and they're looking to add more. Their experience is motivating other distribution utilities to look at adding solar as a complement to the energy that they purchased from their wholesale supplier, which is either MPPD or Tri-State Electric G&T. And in fact, in the process of negotiating their most recent contracts, they negotiated the ability to be able to engage more renewable generation at the local level than they did in previous contracts. And that was because there is an interest to begin to move forward, to do more with renewables in response both to our customers and in response to what makes sense for the distribution system and their consumers.
Okay. Other questions? Seeing none, thank you, Ms. Gottschalk.
Thank you.